Crypto Cats, my name is Tom and I'm a crypto investor, and it's time for our weekly market roundup of the crypto space. Coming to you on a Tuesday. I'm sorry it's belated. I have had my other hat on. I've been presenting at an entrepreneur conference, but I'm back here ready to celebrate another terrific week in crypto. Look at this. It is alt season. We have huge movement now in the alt space. Bitcoin and Ethereum up modestly for 3%, but look at these, some of these amazing moves. Solana up 71%. Even XRP's managed to go up 50%. And Luna as well, up 73%. So we'll come into why we are seeing those moves in those specific tokens, but generally we have a rising tide lifting all boats. Cardano up 33% with the potential rollout of their smart contracts a month from now. So some hopium there for the Cardano holders. But overall, it is looking very nice. It's looking good. Let's look at the bubbles. We can see, well, we just had this massive pop-up here from Audio, which has been on my radar. So they are now set to be working with TikTok to be providing the a sound solution. I'm not quite sure what it is, but that is currently pumping. Axie, we've been tipping it on the channel the last month or so, 77% in the last week as well. As I just mentioned, Solana. Generally, Sushi as well, another cracking coin, up 44%. We are seeing some really nice moves in the alt space. It is good. So, looking at DeFi, I think this page needs refreshing. No, it doesn't. So we have 80 billion now locked in DeFi. You can see we're steadily climbing. More and more capital is being locked in DeFi, which is a good sign. Of course, Aave still out in front, dominating that space. And when we look at the total amount of Ethereum now burnt in the 2 weeks since EIP 1559, it is significant. And what is most interesting on this is the fact that OpenSea is the largest burner of Ethereum with 517 Ethereum in the last 24 hours, that is. In fact, we can take this to here we go, so 7,000. It still remains on top. 7,000 Ethereum burnt by OpenSea. If you're not familiar with OpenSea, this is an NFT marketplace. So every time NFTs, in this case digital images, are exchanged, there is a gas fee paid, and it is the largest burner of Ethereum, which you have to sit up and pay notice to. If that is where the demand's coming from, then we need to be looking at that, and we will in a minute. So this equates to $174 million worth of Ethereum that has been now burnt. And if you're not familiar with the EIP 1559, basically, in a very simplistic way, every week new blocks mined put 60,000 new Ethereum into the system. Now we have this protocol that burns Ethereum every time it's moved, and when the network is busy, more is burnt. But basically 60,000 per week are created. Now 30,000 of those 60,000 are burnt forever. So we have a 50% reduction effectively in the total amount of Ethereum being created. Now this is just the amuse-bouche, the starter for the main event, which will go forth at the end of Q1, probably March, April, which is ETH 2.0, which is when Ethereum will move from proof of work, so processing power, to proof of stake, which will mean no more mining, no more 60,000 Ethereum every week, and the burning will continue. And as the more demand on the network increases, the burning becomes greater. People don't quite understand just how big a deal this is. For me, we're just getting going when it comes to the tokenomics leaning in our favor for Ethereum. So the nice thing to look at here is transactions on Ethereum. We looked at this last week. So this is since 2017. You can see that it is a bottom left to top right corner. We are seeing increased transactions, and increased transactions means increased burning of Ethereum. All right, let's look at token terminal. We can see that out in the lead is still Axie Infinity with $323 million in revenue in the last 30 days. Their weekly revenue is 78 million, down a little bit from last week actually, but Axie Infinity just printing money at the moment. And interesting to see that this week FTX, the exchange, struck a deal to sponsor Axie Infinity players, 137 of them, and they used Yield Guild Games to do so, which I tipped in my Discord to a number of users to buy just before it pumped 180%. So we'll send the link for that Discord if you want to be getting that information. And we'll look at YGG on the charts in a bit. But this is interesting to see, and it just strengthens the case for Axie, which continues to perform very well. If you're interested in this gaming Axie metaverse space, something you should have on your radar, we've talked about the DPI index, which is the DeFi pulse, which is the aggregation of all the DeFi. It's like an ETF for DeFi tokens, the top 20 DeFi tokens. Well, you should look at MVI, which is the metaverse index. So this is like an aggregation of all of the top gaming and metaverse tokens. This could be a video alone on its own, but here we are. So you can see that the top allocation here with 20% is Axie. Then we have Illuvium, Engine Coin, Decentraland, Sand, etc., etc. It's just a really nice way to set and forget, to make sure that you're getting exposure to this whole space. You don't have to be right about which game emerges as the winner, because you're just betting on the whole market share of that whole industry, that whole space. And so, you know, if one of these gets hacked, you don't really lose money because the others will take up that market space. So I think it's a really nice lower risk way to get exposure to what's a very growing space right now, and what I think is going to have, after NFTs, but the biggest demand on Ethereum is going to be gaming for the coming 6 months or so. We will see. So talking of NFTs, you may have seen Penguin Mania gripping Twitter and others. If not, where are you hanging out to not be knowing about the penguins? So this is in the New York Times. I joined a penguin NFT club. I personally bought a penguin. I flipped a penguin. I sold it for 140% more than I bought it for after 4 days. It doesn't get more speculative, so please don't mess around with penguin NFTs unless you know what you're doing. I just noticed there was a lot of social traction gaining on Twitter. Oh, and I should say, please do like and subscribe to the video. It really helps. We're new and just starting to get some traction, so please do subscribe. Please hit the alert button. That's the one. And please do share it with your mates. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet, all right? Important things to understand. Okay, so another big thing that happened last week, of course, was the infrastructure bill within the Senate being passed, their $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. But snuck into that, of course, was this crypto regulation with very clumsy overarching wording stating that basically any movement of cryptocurrency, whether it, a miner selling their coins or a DeFi protocol making small deposits, whatever it might be, would require reporting. This would, freeze the entire industry. Now, there was significant response from the crypto community. I think the Senate and senators were shocked by how mobilized, by how smart, by how energized the space was. And it has overall been a very positive event for the space. And what was interesting was that we had bipartisan agreement that this wording would stifle innovation, that it was bad for the space. But unfortunately, the American Senate is a very poorly designed system, and that even though both parties agreed that this wording needed to be removed, a senator from Alabama called Shelby, 85-year-old chap who is retiring next year, tried to clip on top of that agreement to get rid of that clumsy wording that an extra $50 billion worth of spending of defense budget should also be tacked on. Bernie Sanders said, hey, call your boots, man. No, we're not putting another $50 billion in there. Maybe we should consider the climate change disaster we have upcoming. And so the thing got scrapped. So the infrastructure bill has passed with this clumsy wording, but the markets still seem happy. Why? Because we have a year and a few months until that would be rolled out, and by which time the confidence is that this will be ironed out in the courts. It's going to have to be done the slow and painful way, but as we have bipartisan agreement that the wording must be changed, it looks like it will be. So that's why we're okay. And overall, it's just been great to put crypto in the limelight, it's been a overall positive exposure for the crypto space. All right, so last couple of things. We have Solana launches their wormhole connection for DeFi. So basically we have Solana and Terra are pumping on the back of this, and we'll go and have a look at them on the charts in a minute. And also that Lionel Messi, you may have seen, has left Barcelona and gone to Paris Saint-Germain. He is getting paid a portion of his salary in a crypto token called Chili's. So that is interesting to see as well, and it makes you wonder like how pervasive this may be in the sporting space, and if we will see this negotiated into more and more contracts. Big things, big things. All right. So, and also I wanted to share this, which is basically looking at the number of shorts that are placed on Ethereum. It's the same for Bitcoin as well. You can see that this pink line is open in short interest. And so whilst we're having that run up, we had more shorts on the market, more open longs on the market, leverage basically in the system. That leverage leads to more volatility, to bigger movements. You know, if you have people having leveraged positions, then you get liquidations and we get volatility. Right now, the price, the amount of leverage in the system is less, which means we are less exposed to big dramatic moves. So I don't think we are too vulnerable. So that is an appropriate time for us to jump into the charts. All right, first we'll start with the big daddy, Mr. Bitcoin. And you know, we have overall, this was basically last week, which I'm reporting to you, had another beautiful green candle for the week. We actually came back down and we have found support again. Overall, you know, Bitcoin continues to march higher. Now people, you know, there is a fair amount of people who are starting to get nervous that maybe we've come up too far too fast, and that we're due a correction. It's also hard to paint a picture that we just continue to cruise up here. For me, I feel that cruising up or consolidating sideways is probably the most likely outcome. You know, we continue to be nicely range bound in this upward channel. It's clear to see that we're holding this upward channel. So for me, that is the status quo. I see us continuing to grind up higher, but what we might just start to do, I think, you know, I think when you have 50% of people long, 50% of people short, what happens? You go sideways. And I wouldn't be surprised just to see us maybe do something like this. We're not really seeing a sign of that yet, but just, you know, I think it's going to be not very dramatic for a week or two. I think you might just see some sideways consolidation, which would be good, healthy movement for the market. We can just build a platform to then gain the momentum to go up higher. So nothing really to report. We're either channeling nicely upwards or perhaps we consolidate. Let's look at Ethereum. And so I put this on here. I think that's exactly what we will see in Ethereum, that we're going to start to consolidate sideways for a time. So it's really, really healthy that the market can do this, can take a breather, and then as and when we do get a break of the 33.40 resistance above, then it's likely that the distance of this consolidation zone is what the move will be. So if we are to take some, let's say, oh, that's the wrong one. Come on. I record all of these in one single take, so excuse me when there are somewhat slight errors. So, you know, let's say that this is a consolidation zone. I would say it's actually a little smaller, but the likelihood is that when we do break, we will get that same representation of move. So we would likely move to 3,800 or so. I think it would be a little less. I think, you know, 3,600 is where we do have some light support coming in. But overall, this is not a market. Don't be waiting for a crash or waiting for a considerable pullback. It's not necessarily that likely that we are going to see that. And if we do, keep your buy orders just above the support line. So we have a very strong support line here at 2,900. I don't see it necessarily being met, but if you are going to do it, you want your buy order just above it at 2,950 or so. Not financial advice, just a indication of what I would do. Looking at the ratio between Ethereum and Bitcoin, let's just take this out to let's go 8 hour. You can see that, of course, we broke our wedge. We didn't quite get the impulsive move that I was expecting. I did say I thought we would move fairly quickly up to 50%. I so far have been wrong. We've broken out and we've really just consolidated. We haven't seen Ether really starting to tear away from Bitcoin. And it's interesting because I forgot to put the article in, but we are starting to see more institutional interest in Ether, and there is signs that institutions have been trimming a bit of Bitcoin for Ether exposure as well. So you could make a case here that we're starting to coil a bit. Maybe we're going to see something like this. And then once we do get that break, we should get that move. But for me, it's very hard to make a case for this being a break to the downside. I continue to see Ethereum having a lot more potential upside over Bitcoin personally right now. Looking at Bitcoin shorts, they continue to be very low, which is nice to see in the market. Looking at DeFi, just starting to get some exciting moves here for DeFi. This is DeFi versus Ethereum. And you have to remember that Ethereum obviously has been tearing ahead, so DeFi's got its work cut out to try and really move up in this chart. And especially now we have EIP 1559. If you think about it, the more activity on DeFi, the more Ethereum that is burnt by EIP 1559. So it really has to be flying to be outperforming Ether, because the success of DeFi leads to the success of Ethereum. So based on that, it's hard to make a strong case for DeFi flying up more than Ethereum. But it's starting to make a bit of a move here. Definitely keep your eye on this. If you don't have the DPI index in your portfolio, you absolutely should. It's a lovely way to get that broad exposure of DeFi. And looking at DeFi versus US dollar, beautiful, nice, solid channeling movement up there, looking very strong. And so now I wanted to add MVI. So I just talked to you about this. This is the Metaverse Index. So I think we'll start seeing the Metaverse playing more and more important part of this space. You can see that it's not quite as straightforward as DPI. It's a lot more volatile, but also potentially a lot greater rewards. Also channeling nicely up. So yeah, MVI is something we will be keeping our eye on more and more. Looking at Bitcoin dominance, it's coming down. It's what we said would happen as confidence returns into the market. As people buy into alts, we would expect the dominance in DeFi to in Bitcoin to reduce. We had this channel line here, which we broke, retested, and resumed down. We're now coming into well, this is actually a fairly crude line, to be honest. This is just a clone of this line, which we have up here. But I think, as and when we do get down below here, we quickly start to move faster and faster. All said and done, over the next couple of years, I think we get Bitcoin dominance down to 10 to 20%. I think this continues to fall as the rest of the market strengthens. So it's great to see. It's great to see this happening. Even if you're a Bitcoin holder, I'm sure it's great to see this happening. It means that the whole ecosystem is gaining strength and relevance. So yeah, I very much welcome seeing this play out. Ethereum dominance as well, falling. We were at 20%, breaking above 20, which I'd said is this kind of magic line in the sand. If Ethereum dominance is above 20%, then we're really historically high. And as alts have strengthened, we've seen that come down to 19%. But overall, Ethereum dominance is channeling gently up. I do expect it to hold above 20 and move up higher as we, as the year goes on. And what this all represents on the total market cap for crypto is that we are just now flirting with $2 trillion again. So we are not far off those all-time highs that we had. So the whole crypto market is only 26% off its absolute peak. So if your portfolio is more than 26% down from the height that you achieved on the 13th of March, then you need to maybe consider some of the dead wood in your portfolio, because in reality, we actually are only 23% or so down. So if you're still 50, 60% down, then you need to be looking at these tokens in your portfolio and ascertaining whether they have a future. It's important not to become emotionally attached to any one project. So YGG, so I flipped 30% of my Axie into YGG when we were here. I was quite proud of it. We saw this lovely break of this downward channel. And then we got a very impulsive 200% move. I didn't know that FTX were going to use YGG to sponsor Axie Infinity. I got lucky with that, but I just used it as a technical break of this downward trend. So the alert went off, I bought. So yeah, if you want, turn on alerts for on YouTube, and I will be putting more alerts out like that, just short 2-minute videos as and when these things do happen. Axie, wow, look at us go. We're up to $82 a coin now. It's just broken out in the last hour or so. Wow. Really nice to see Axie on the move, and it doesn't surprise me if you just focus on the revenue. It's really easy for us to put intrinsic value on these cryptocurrencies when you look at the revenues they generate. We'll go to token terminal, we look at the PE ratio, and you can see that the value of the token divided by the revenue it generates gives it this tiny PE ratio, which makes it cheaper than any company in the S&P 500 by a long way. So even legacy companies that are on their way out have far higher PE ratios than Axie Infinity, which is a emergent new gaming technology effectively. And now, I think they have maybe $1 billion in their coffers to be developing new games. A strong community of 1 million users on 1 million individuals on Discord. It's quite incredible. So I don't think we're done here. At some point, we're going to be testing $100 a token. Solana, we need to take a look at as well. Really wonderful moves for Solana out here in blue sky. Don't be afraid of buying at all-time highs. All-time highs are typically followed by more all-time highs. It's when a token is in blue sky, there's no resistance above. It has momentum on its back, and it could easily continue to march on further from here. Another one which we need to look at as well is Terra Luna. Luna is, it's a whole ecosystem. I can put out some videos specifically on this and its use cases, but also broken to all-time highs, taking out the previous all-time high of $22. It's nice to see tokens at all-time highs. We see Ethereum and Bitcoin off their all-time highs, but some of these other tokens now breaking new ground. Really exciting to see. So yeah, momentum is your friend. All right, I think that's it for now. I hope you found it useful. Happy investing, everyone. I will be with you on Friday with another one of these, and then after that, we will be back on track to putting them out at the weekends for you. Happy investing, and speak to you soon. All the best.